I myself recall moments of waking up in the morning, lying in bed and running through like, could my head be sore? Could my throat be sore? Could I be sick in any way so that I just don't have to go to work today? And that too was a sign like maybe something's not quite right. So I feel you've already touched on that a little bit, but they classify burnout as an occupational syndrome that's a result of chronic workplace stress, that unsustainability, I think, that you've mentioned as well, that's not been successfully managed with characteristics of feeling energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, negativity or cynicism when it comes to it, and reduced professional efficacy. And so, Julie, what was your personal experience, and does that definition kind of do your experience justice?
Yeah, I think I struggle with the idea of my own experience with burnout because I feel like I would come back to that definition and say, well, no, I always felt like my patients were always human beings. I never had that depersonalization. I always felt connected with them. And if anything, I think sometimes those relationships helped buoy me in those times where I was just feeling so, going through a hard time. I think the way that, if I would say that I experienced burnout, in the typical sense, it was the depletion, just complete exhaustion, just feeling like I had nothing left. And I think what ended up happening is I was never going to sacrifice patient care. I was never going to give up on caring for my family. So something had to give. It was me, so all just taking care of my own self suddenly became the last priority, and sort of my wellness became negotiable, I guess. And I kept cutting corners in that way. And so I think the way that it did manifest for me was just that complete exhaustion and depletion, which, to be fair, over time did progress to clinical depression, and required me to really do a lot more work to turn that around and heal. So I feel like I only really experienced burnout, like a hint of burnout, with the just burning myself at both ends. And I think the personal efficacy piece, I did feel like I was still having an impact on people. I felt really good, a lot of fulfillment. But I think if anything, the way that manifested for me was just the never enough. Like feeling like I always had more than I needed to give, more on the to-do list, more like I wasn't living up to someone's expectations. So I there was that piece for sure as well. And so I think over time that kind of transitioned to something a lot more that really led to much more severe symptoms that, um, you know, thinking back now, the fact that I had suicidality, I had this despair, I had this just kind of um, background desperation that I think I just normalized, until finally I was like, this is not something that can continue. It's definitely not sustainable. Back to what Ami was saying. Yeah, I think that just the demands exceeding people's bandwidth is something that really resonates for me. I think particularly in primary care, we sort of almost have a chip on our shoulders. We're like, oh, I can handle it. I handle all the things. Like we're just all comers. We got this. We're here for you. But I think that that can get abused, right? As to have to take on much more than we should as a primary care physician, and doing more things that really could potentially be delegated. I mean, I used to spend hours at night like doing refill, authorizations, or answering patient messages that had piled up, and not even that all of them needed to be answered by me, or being in the middle of a busy clinic day and having a patient, sending a message about that they have chest pain, and then me sort of figuring out like, oh my God, how do I handle this right now when I'm in the middle of, seeing a patient who's depressed and suicidal, and then the well child check, and they've been in there and the baby's crying, and like how to juggle, 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 and just feeling like I had to do it all. And it was, yeah, exhausting.
I mean, I feel like our biggest virtues sometimes are our biggest downfall because it's amazing. You see need and you want to address it. It's not just
Yeah.
okay to see it in one area and then leave it be for someone else to do. The more need you see, the more you want to do, and that's such a good thing. Until we can't kind of navigate and manage that and put boundaries around that. Julie, was that like for you?
Yeah, I think definitely being the person who wants to take things to the next level on a regular basis is like it's great to bring that energy, and the workplace loves it, right? Because they're like, oh, she's a doer. We're gonna get you into this role, and we're gonna ask you to do this and that, and um, definitely as a people pleaser, I acknowledge the fact that I say yes a lot, but also because I like doing a lot of things. I feel like in family medicine, we always talk about like, we love all the things, everything's interesting. Oh, that sounds like a cool opportunity. This might be important for, my professional development or advancement. Like, I should say yes to that because I want to be able to, you know, continue to show that I belong here. And so I think kind of my own internal dialogue of feeling that need, um, as a early career woman, to like show that I belong and that I have things to bring, of myself, strengths, um, just yeah, a lot of saying yes, a lot of continuing to do more, continuing to pile on, and forgetting to sort of pause sometimes and be like, maybe this is like not something that's doable for a normal human being. I think just again, it's back to that chip on the shoulder of like, I got this, I can do a little bit more. It's fine. Until suddenly it's like nothing left to give. And how did it get to be this way? Um, so I think all of those pieces, the culture of medicine definitely, I think depends and takes for granted sometimes all of these traits of many of the physicians who come into this space, and also being sort of perfectionistic. I think many of us struggle with that, like just always trying to go above and beyond, can be great in terms of patient care, but also it's a lot of that distress of like, am I doing everything right? The patients, that I saw in the day, sort of thinking over, problems that I haven't been able to fix for them, but is it my problem to solve? And so just yeah, all of these little factors I think can feed some really difficult emotional experiences.
I feel you both are almost bringing the art back into medicine, the being, not just the doing, the communicating, the connecting, which is much deeper than just, I don't know. Sometimes we've lost that, this artistic, creative side, to caring for another human being. So that's really beautiful. Julie, you wrote a really poignant poem capturing your experience, and it would be great if you would be willing to read that for us.
Oh, okay. It's called The Flare. Sometimes it's easier to keep pushing through, to roll up the windows and hit the gas. And maybe your tires are almost bald, needle teetering on the empty line, oil change way past due, and there's a funny sound under the hood, but if you hum just right, it blends into the background music. And then the battery dies, and you're stuck with silence and stillness. And it gets a little cold at night, and you rummage in the back for a blanket and wait for a jump. But no one's coming. You drove so far and left everyone behind. The flashes through the window were a dizzying display, and now it's just darkness. And you wonder how things got so worn, and you're tired, oh so tired. But you remember there's one flare in your trunk, and you wonder if it's worth it. And a tiny voice says yes. And with a deep breath, you add a flame, and suddenly you're not alone in the cold anymore. You drive the speed limit now, and you watch out for the check engine light and look out for stranded vehicles along the way these days, because this baby's got some mileage and it's going the distance.